Amend the Mass Media Group is California Capital's premier YouTube channel focused on reparations, dedicated to political advocacy and apologetically aimed at shining a spotlight on our righteous justice claim for reparations. Tune in to ETM Media Group YouTube channel Tuesdays at 9 p.m. PST.
We do show intros, show outros, voiceover, script copy, 15 and 30-second promos. Check us out at etmmediagroup.com. That's etmmediagroup.com for more info and updates and to get involved. All right, we back.
We are here. We are in the house.
I think we took a hiatus last week, well-deserved hiatus. ETM Media Group was at the film festival. You know, Kim, I kept messing up that film festival last time. What was it called again? Little film.
Our little old film shorts film festival.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, the Mass Media Group was in the building. It was a pretty good turnout, a good response. Other filmmakers were there with their shorts too, so it was cool. We really appreciated, everybody there, and especially the people who hosted it. They were gracious enough for all the filmmakers to talk about our film and other people's films, so that was a good look, definitely.
Definitely. Shorts and trailers. A lot of people are still in pre-production trying to get it made. Takes money. We have a GoFundMe out there ourselves for our Reparations Now documentary. So look us up and hit us up.
Yeah, definitely. Before we actually get into the news and review, we just want to introduce our brother, Tobias Smith. What's up, Tobias? How you doing, bro?
Peace, man. I'm doing well. How's everybody?
Tobias doing well. First of all, man, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate your time and your energy. And so we're gonna definitely let the people who don't know of you, have a chance to get to know you, and just build, man. Have a great conversation, about your movie. Maybe get into a little bit of your music and some other things, brother. So, Kim, should we get into the news and review, or do we have some other housekeeping we should get into?
Let's see. We do have some housekeeping. Let's see here. The California Reparations Task Force. As you know, we track the task force vigorously. The next task force meeting is going to be happening on December 7th and 8th, a 2-day meeting. That's meeting number 5. Slated to have 10 meetings over a 2-year span. So definitely get involved, fam. Tap in.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a look at what's been happening in the news.
All right, I guess I'll take this one. Ashe to Malika Shabazz. Malika Shabazz, daughter of Malcolm X, was found dead in her Brooklyn home Monday, according to police. Authorities say the 56-year-old Shabazz was found just after 4 p.m. inside of her Midwood home on East 28th Street by her daughter. The death does not appear suspicious, and Police Commissioner Dermot Shea said she had been ill for some time. At this point in time, working with other authorities, the medical examiner, and speaking to the family, she had been ill for a period of time, he told PIX. And at this point, nothing appears suspicious. May she rest in power. May she rest in peace. Ashe, ashe.
Rest in peace. Also resting in peace, we have Urza Blount, victim of Astroworld tragedy, dead at 9. Urza Blount loves great skateboarding, music, and playing Fortnite. The latter is how he got into Travis Scott, though his family noted his natural ability for performance himself in a touching video his father, Tristan Blount, shared on GoFundMe page for Urza. The father and son are seen acting out a SpongeBob SquarePants meme and lip-syncing Metro Boomer's 10 Freaky Girls featuring 21 Savage. The clip also features photos and clips from their time at Scott's Astroworld concert. Tristan took Urza to see Scott's set in Houston and had put Urza on his shoulders. Urza's grandmother, Teresa Blount, previously told Rolling Stone, presumably so he could get a better view. At some point, the crowd began to surge shortly after Scott took the stage. Tristan couldn't breathe at all and passed out. Teresia said Urza fell and in the ensuing chaos and would result in at least 9 deaths and hundreds of injuries. His fate soon after was not known until the family found him at a nearby hospital listed as John Doe. As a result of being trampled, he had suffered injuries to his kidney, lung, liver, basically every organ, Teresia said, and went into cardiac arrest. He was put into a medically induced coma and treat brain swelling. On Sunday, Urza Blount died from his injuries at the age of 9. His family and said in a statement issued by their attorney, Ben Crump. Rest in peace, young man. I was certainly praying for his soul, and I still am.
Rest in peace. 2 men convicted of killing Malcolm X to be exonerated. 2 men who spent decades in prison for the murder of civil rights leader Malcolm X, which they steadfastly denied having any part in, will have their convictions thrown out, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office said Wednesday. DA Cy Vance and attorneys for Muhammad Aziz and the late Khalil Islam will jointly move Thursday to vacate their 1966 convictions, the office said. Vance, in an interview with the New York Times, apologized and acknowledged the, quote, severity of the era, end quote. Authorities in their trial withheld evidence favorable to the defense, said the Innocence Project and civil rights lawyer David Shaneys, the attorney for the 2 men. Vance's office is expected to join the men's attorneys Thursday in asking a judge to vacate the convictions. The Times reported that the review found prosecutors, the FBI, and the NYPD withheld evidence that would likely lead to an acquittal. The FBI and NYPD said they fully cooperated with Vance's investigation.
Looks like there might be some changes coming to corporate finance. No country for white men as State Streets push diversity. Staff at one of the world's largest investment companies have to get special approval to hire a white man rather than a woman or ethnic minority candidate. The policy is part of a drive by State Street, which employs 2,500 people in Ireland, to improve diversity within its middle and senior management. The multinational aims to triple the number of Black, Asian, and other minority staff in senior roles by 2023, and executive bonuses will be lower if they do not meet the targets. The 200-year-old company, in common with financial institutions worldwide, has been dominated by white men. A photograph on its website celebrating State Street's Global Advisors founding in 1978 shows a room full of white men wearing shirts and ties.
Looks like, Kim, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure it was good because I thought something happened to my mic. Oh, we're moving.
You good? You good? You good?
All right, we can. Let's hit this news up, shall we? Sha'Carri Richardson has become just as known for her outspoken personality as she has her track skills, and she addressed both on November 20th in a social media post directed at anyone who takes issue with the content she shares. The 21-year-old track and field sprinter made it clear to her followers that she's a Black woman first and athlete second, after she appeared to receive some backlash for sharing a post comparing the acquittal of Kenosha protest shooter Kyle Rittenhouse to the murders of Tamir Rice and Trayvon Martin. Both of those killers also received no criminal consequences. I am just stopping by to say this, that I am Black before I'm an athlete. So if you don't like the fact that I post for what I believe in and for my people, and you're not a believer in that, then just simply unfollow me, she encouraged.
Okay. Black power. All right. Watch out for these landlord scams, fam. Woman who thought she paid off her home is now facing eviction after falling victim to fake landlord scam. June Walker, a 65-year-old woman from Detroit, Michigan, finished paying off a rent to own home in more than 2 years, believing it would be her forever home. But she's now facing eviction after apparently being a victim of a fake landlord scam all along. In January 2019, Walker was finding a house with more affordable rent when she was shown a bungalow which was in poor condition. The house, which she was told cost $15,000, had missing windows, doors, furnace, water heater, and some plumbing, but she thought she could fix it. A property manager named Maurice gave her a copy of the deed, which appeared to be from the owner of the house named Derek. She found some parts of the document odd, but thought she couldn't quite point out since she had never seen one before and she just trusted Maurice. After signing the rent to own document in February 2019, she moved in and gradually made repairs to the house. She saved up money and set aside most of her disability check and made her final payment last spring. However, when it came time to put the deed in her name in April, Derek can no longer be reached out to set an appointment. She tried calling Maurice, who used to come and collect the rent each month, but his phone was no longer working. Ultimately, in June, she received trespassing summons in the mail. She initially thought it was mistakenly sent to her, but when she appeared at her virtual court date, she and was connected to a lawyer, she learned that she may have been the victim of a scam.
Fam, watch them scams out there. Some of those rent to own. Mm, mm, mm. Just be careful, family. Be careful. Debates over Rittenhouse acquittal drag in legally irrelevant issues. I stand by what the jury has concluded, President Joe Biden told reporters on Friday after Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted of all the charges he faced for shooting 3 people, 2 fatally, during an August 2020 protest in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The jury system works, and we have to abide by it. Later that day, by contrast, Biden said the verdict left him feeling angry and concerned. The president's confusing attempt to straddle anger and acceptance reflected a sharp division of opinion about the outcome of Rittenhouse's trial, a clash that was based mainly on legally irrelevant considerations. The unrest in Kenosha followed a police shooting that left a black man, Jacob Blake, partially paralyzed. But Rittenhouse's guilt or innocence had nothing to do with whether that use of force was justified or whether the response to it is more accurately described as a riot or an excuse of First Amendment rights. The prosecution's task was to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Rittenhouse did not act in self-defense, which was impossible given the testimony from its own witnesses. The jurors, who deliberated for more than 25 hours over 4 days, clearly took their job seriously and ultimately concluded that the state had failed to meet its burden. All right, I think Kim, you might be on mute.
I mean, okay.
Unless you don't want
Uh,
to do the story, I mean, we can skip to the next one. But
we'll get through it real quick. Here we go. Waukesha parade suspect Daryl Brooks charged with intentional homicide, child marked sixth death. The man charged with driving through the Waukesha Christmas parade in Wisconsin Sunday night learned 6 people dead, leaving 6 people dead and 61 others injured, made his first court appearance Tuesday. The suspect was free on $1,000 bail, posted just 2 days before the deadly event, a fact that is leading to review of what happened and renewed calls for giving judges more power to set higher bails. Daryl E. Brooks Jr., 39, of Milwaukee, has been charged with 5 counts of intentional homicide, Waukesha police announced Monday. During the court appearance, prosecutors announced that a sixth person, a child, has died from their injuries. Jackson Sparks, 8, died Monday, according to WISN. 13 other children remain hospitalized as of Tuesday night, according to Children's Wisconsin. An officer who saw Brooks observed the driver looking straight ahead directly at him and appeared he had no emotion in his face as he drove about 25 miles per hour, speeding up and honking his horn as the officer yelled for him to stop. The vehicle then appeared to rapidly accelerate, the complaint said. The officer heard tire squeals as the SUV took an abrupt turn into the crowd. At this point, it was clear to Officer Buttrin that this was an intentional act to strike and hurt as many people as possible, the complaint said. Brooks' bail has been set at $5 million, which would have to be paid full in cash. An additional homicide charge is expected. His next court appearance is scheduled in January. Just tragic all around. And that's in the news. Okay, we are back.
A lot of stuff happened out in the world today.
Yeah, stay safe, fam.
Yeah, there was another incident that happened, I think, in 2017 or 2018. I can't exactly remember, but if I recall correctly, there was like a white woman who got hit and ran over by, at the time, I think he was a suspected white racist supremacist. And so I think they got a conviction against him and some other people. Anyway, the victims won like $25 million or something like that. I did want to do it in the news report, but by the time I actually got a hold of it, it was kind of too late. So maybe next time we'll actually run that story.
All right, we will be back. All right, so let's introduce our special guest today, Tobias Smith. How are you?
Hey, you're on mute, brother.
I said I'm well. I appreciate you. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. Thanks for joining us today. Yeah, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
I am a filmmaker, a music producer, songwriter. I'm from the south side of Chicago. Grew up in Chicago, born and raised. Moved to Detroit at the age of 14. Graduated from Wayne State University with a degree in business, logistics, and marketing. Started my own company, my own music production and film company. And did my first documentary, which is the Cotton Pickin Truth Still on the Plantation, with my father, who was the director and co-producer, Tim Smith, in 2009. And that film featured Dick Gregory, a host of others, Mae Louise Miller, who was a slave. Her and her family was enslaved into the 1960s. And as a result of the film, the laws in Mississippi changed in 2013. They ratified the 13th Amendment. And yeah, so the film is now on Amazon Prime. People are viewing it all over the world. And there's a lot of positive things happening as a result. And that's the good news for the day, because y'all hit me with a lot of bad news, man.
There's a lot going on in the world, that's for sure. But yes, that's why we reached out to you after watching your groundbreaking documentary, just to kind of find out. I mean, because when I watched it, it just hit me really hard. And matter of fact, I watched it again last night. And you said something in the interview. You said that when you were leaving the plantation, you just felt like a heaviness. How did you feel? Can you describe how you felt just being on a plantation, a real life plantation?
Yeah, we want to take the time to really let people understand that we're not talking about a plantation that was active 100 years ago or over 100 years ago. We're talking about present day slavery plantation that we were on. It was a surreal thing to see, to talk and communicate with the people who were there. And I didn't eat. I couldn't eat. I couldn't think about like anything. It was just like just a surreal experience, man. It was hard to describe. You know what I'm saying? For somebody who had been from the inner city of Chicago and Detroit. But then, the reality hit is like, it's people in Chicago and in Detroit who had never been downtown, that only, been in the neighborhood. So what's the difference? You know what I mean? We all caught up on our own plantations because that's the real plantation is in your mind. You know what I'm saying? So we all are still on plantations.
So what made you or your pops want to take on this topic, this subject? Why this particular thing?
So in 2009, my dad was producing the Warren Ballantine Show, which was a nationally syndicated radio show, talk show, and he had a guest on who was May Louise Miller, her family had been enslaved into the 1960s, and she told her story. And up until that point, we had never done a documentary. We had always talked about doing a documentary, but it had to be the right one. And we felt we were called to do this film. Talked to May after she had been on the show, the radio show, and she was ready to tell her story like in a way that she had never told it before. And it was just the perfect time to do it. So we dedicated ourselves to doing it. No budget, you know what I'm saying, but still made it happen.
So after you guys did we should probably run the trailer too, so people can see it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know if you want to do that now, but maybe after this next question that I asked. But like when you guys were going into making this movie and you didn't have a budget or a minimal budget going in, what kept you going? I mean, it's like you guys didn't have any money. You guys were probably scrambling for money. Did you ever try to reach out to like anybody else, any other relatives, any other people that you knew that might have a little coin, in their pocket to contribute?
I mean, I talked to some people, some family members, etc. But I mean, we black, man. You know what I mean? Even those that did have it didn't want to give it up. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and I don't really hold any type of feelings towards anybody for that, because sometimes you just got to show and prove people that you're serious about what you're doing, and you got to do it yourself sometimes. You know what I mean? And that's just what it was in this case. And so it's just that will to really bring the story and educate the people. I mean, this film, one thing everybody should know, it was done to educate in the spirit of love, to unite those who understand that through love and economic unity, we can create the life that we desire for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And so and we moved in that spirit with it.
So, do you think that if you did something like a documentary on strippers, or if you did something that was more, street like, do you think you might have been able to conjure up some more money to support that documentary instead of like this particular subject?
I don't think the content is the thing that really, content is king in general. I think that where I was in my own spirit, I had a lot of growing to do. I had a lot of anger to let go of. You know what I mean? I think that you talk about conjuring up money and conjuring up opportunities for yourself. Anybody can do it, but you got to be at the right frequency. You know what I mean? You got to operate in the right vibration. So I wasn't at that place at the time. You know what I mean? I was moving with a lot more anger, and I wasn't as evolved as I am today to know how to create and operate in a certain way to get what you need. You know what I mean? To produce a film or to produce an album or anything else. It's about moving in the right vibration.
Okay, we'll take a look at the trailer here, and then when we get back, I've definitely got some more questions for you. Cotton Pickin Truth Still on the Plantation.
Anyone who thinks that slavery ended in the 1860s with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation are grievously wrong.
If we caught a bird, we ate through the feathers and ate the bird. We didn't have nothing to cook on. We didn't have no stove. You know who you are and who we are.
We're still on that big plantation.
She was bonded to them until they died. She was their slave.
They said, well, we're going to be killed tonight. Could that same white dude keep terrorists there? Or Russian spies? Or the KGB? And the government wouldn't know it? No. They thought I was beat so bad that I couldn't do nothing, but I did.
All right, family, go support. Go check it out.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, it really is a must watch. I want to know, while you were on the plantation doing your interviews, did you ever run into the plantation owners or have any interaction with the plantation owners at all?
Yeah, we did. So when we were filming, so I remember seeing a white truck drive up. It may have been maybe 40 or 50 yards away from us. And they just watched us for maybe 3 minutes, and then it sped off, did a U-turn and sped off real fast. And we was like, man, we were so far away from regular normal civilization, you know what I mean? So it was way in the backwoods of Mississippi, Delta. So we knew at that point, it was about that time for us to leave. We ain't have an army or a squad that big. We definitely had we were strapped, but still, it just wasn't enough firepower with us, you know what I mean? But we knew it was time to leave at that time.
Okay, so we want to take a look at May's. Let's see. I believe you had some information in her. Here we go. All right, so you say that you met her when she was on your father's radio show. That's how you learned of her story. Let's see here. May Louise Miller, December 2003. As May Miller tells it, she spent her youth in Mississippi as a slave, picking cotton, pulling corn, picking peas, picking butter, beans, picking string beans, digging potatoes, whatever it was. That's what you did for no money at all. Miller and her sister Annie's tale of bondage ended in the 60s. Not 1860s when slaves officially were freed after the Civil War, but 1960s. Their story, which ABC News has not confirmed independently, is not unheard of. Justice Department records tell of prosecutions well into the 20th century of whites who continue to keep blacks in involuntary servitude, coercing them with threats of their lives, exploiting their ignorance of life and the laws beyond the plantation where they were born. Don't run away, they'll kill us. The sisters say that's how it happened then. They were born in the 1930s and 40s into a world where their father, Kane Wall, now believed to be 105 years old, had already been forced into slave labor. It was so bad. I ran away at age 9, and he told ABC News, Nightline, but they told my brother they better come get me. I ran to a place even worse than where I were. But the people told my brothers, you better go get her. They came and got me and brought me back. So there was a whole family, basically,
Yeah,
in that situation.
right. At the time when we
What-
did the film, May was the only one who wanted to speak at that time. But since then, others of the family have came out and spoke. So rest in peace, May Miller.
Rest in peace.
Yes, rest in peace. Now, when eventually, so you said that some of the other families members wanted to come speak out. Would you think about doing another Cotton Pickin Truth, a second rendition, a documentary? And maybe interview, some of the other family members who, well, I guess, are the other family members still living?
I'm not sure. I believe so. I do believe so. I saw one of her brothers speak on Vice documentary. They did one that was similar in like 2018 or 2019. So I think, some of her family, some of her siblings are still living. But I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest about doing another one. This one was heart-wrenching. And then it was the backlash that we received from Black people after doing this. Some Black people told me that, why would we do this film? You know what I mean? So, it's it was, I don't know, man. I think I've had enough of this.
Why do you think you got? Why do you think you got feedback from Black folk?
That's a heavy question. I think it's a little bit of the Stockholm syndrome, for sure. I think that sometimes people not ready to address the truth. Once you hear it, then you got to address it. So not everybody's ready to address it. Everybody got their own way, their own time to evolve, and etc. Their own paths in life. And I just think everybody is not on the same page when it comes to the subject of slavery, reparations, etc. It's a lot more education that has to take place.
Is there a hard stop to your distribution deal on Prime? I mean, is there a date where people better see it before it's gone? Or okay, all right. So head on over to Prime. It's available now, fam. While you can watch it while you can. You might not ever see anything like this again. Now, you say that did the documentary directly lead to the ratification of the 13th Amendment in Mississippi?
That was a part of different movements that were taking place from, doctors, lawyers, students across the state, professors, law professors, historians across the state, different people who were leading a movement. And this piece was like started being taught at Mississippi State University and different universities across the state of Mississippi. And it was a tool that definitely helped the process and the agenda get pushed.
That's great. That's something, that came out of it, made it worthwhile. Now, I know that you were working on this documentary. Well, it took a long time from the time that you completed it to the time that it became available for mass consumption. How long did it take you to actually make this documentary from start to stem?
Almost 2 years. It took almost 2 years. All of 2009 and then 2010. Like September 2010 is when we had the first premiere. And then the only distribution channel was with the Nation of Islam for years. You know what I mean? Like different mom and pop shops that sold DVDs and such, of course, over the country. But the Nation of Islam like distributed it in a major way for us. So salute to Mr. Farrakhan and the nation.
Shout out to the NOI, man.
Absolutely.
So when you did get it to the NOI, did you and your pops try to submit it to any film festivals at that particular point in time as well?
Absolutely. We submitted it everywhere. Sundance. We even had, I'm not going to name them, but we had a theater company say that they wanted to have a theatrical run of it. And then they came back and said, yeah, after further review, we've determined that this is too damn much for public consumption. We don't want to deal with this. So, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy, man. Well, we're gonna before we actually start, because I think I want to segue into some reparation stuff. I want to play our trailer to our Reparations Now piece. But before we do that, you did have Baba Dick Gregory. Shout out, to the guy. Just we miss him so much. Can you explain to the audience how y'all connected with Baba Dick Gregory?
So Dick Gregory and my father were friends, and he was a regular on the show that my dad produced at the time, and so the radio show that he produced, and when we started filming, he was the first person that we wanted to show the footage to that we had already captured in Mississippi, and then we showed him the footage. We told him what we had done, showed him the footage, and basically just recorded his response, to what we had showed him. And he was super prepared. He had everything laid out. He had done so much research and hired researchers to do research, and he was ready. He was ready, and he laid it out in a brilliant way. You know what I mean? And I think his part of the documentary was, man, it was unbelievable. You know what I mean? What he had to say, and I think it was very important. One of the most important pieces of the film, and I think that everybody needs to definitely see it, to hear what he had to say and to give us some guidance. You know what I mean? Rest in peace, Baba Dick Gregory.
Yes. So we're gonna take we're actually ourselves, man. Gonna do like yourself and your pops. Kim and I are working on our first documentary. I have shot a feature in the past, but this is my first attempt at doing a documentary. It's called Reparations Now. So we're gonna play it for the family, and hopefully we're gonna be getting in pre-production in 2020, early 2020. So fam, here is the official trailer.
So if you were to bring the black share of wealth at least to the black share of the population, it would require an additional at least $10 trillion.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is Reparations Now in the building. And we're looking to actually do this as a docu-series. So it's not just going to be one film. It's actually going to be hopefully 6, and we're actually going to be breaking it based on region. So we're going to start on the West Coast probably, since this is where we're at right now. And brother, since you up there in Michigan, if we ever get to that point, brother, we definitely like to pull you into the project, man. See if you can get it, especially focusing on what's going on in the political world in Michigan and so forth.
Yeah, out here in California, we've got the first reparations, law that's been enacted to put together a task force studying what the proposals are going to look like. Do you know of any initiatives that are taking place out where you are in Detroit?
We just voted on a proposal R here in Detroit, which is puts in place the same type of task force. But I got an interesting perspective that many people are probably not going to agree with.
All right. We appreciate different perspectives.
And reparations, task force, etc. I feel like the reparations movement has to be led by white people.
Would you like to elaborate?
So when we look at how long, we talking about 150 plus years now since slavery was abolished, supposedly. We've been fighting for reparations, and it hasn't worked, right? Nobody can give us a date that says we're going to get reparations after 150 years of Black people fighting for reparations. It's not worked. It's not going to work that way. It's the only way it's going to work, in my opinion, my estimation, is that if those who know that they owe admit that they owe. And it's up to them to get that right, because there's no oppressor that's going to have sympathy on whoever they're oppressing. It's just not the
right.
way.
So how likely do you think a white-led movement, would be the oppressor offering reparations?
It could happen. I think it can happen, especially now in this time, and in the future moving forward. Maybe 20 years from now, I believe that it can happen. But we've done over 100 years, 150 years now fighting for that, and we've gotten nowhere. And we're arguing facts. We're not arguing, against some theoretical ideal. We're arguing about factual information. You know what I'm saying? Things that happen across the country, like in West Palm Beach, Florida, which is now an affluent and wealthy place. But people don't know the story of West Palm Beach. Most people don't know the story of that. That Black people lived there, and all of that property was Black owned, but they burned over 1,000 houses down in West Palm Beach while the Black people were in church. You understand? That kind of thing. They've got to.
But we are seeing some restitution, like for instance, in LA with Manhattan Beach, Bruce's Beach, that's been given back, and that's going back to the air. So don't you think there's more of a progressive movement? And the fact that, they're talking about reparations for illegal immigrants that were separated from their families at the border. So, I mean, how can you
who's leading that argument?
Well,
ACLU, right? Who's suing it?
Yeah, it's got to be led by non-Blacks. I don't think we're structured enough. I don't think we're united enough. At this point, we're not united enough. We're not ready for that. We're still not ready after 150 years to really lead that discussion. Those who owe. This is not a debate about if they owe, right? We know you owe for sure. There's no debate undebatable that you owe. We need them to fight amongst each other. We got to focus on other things, man.
So do you think it's more so not necessarily, because for me this has to be black led, right? I mean, we have to lead it because obviously white people have reneged on what they were supposed to do. Even when we talk about the Field Order 15, right, with General Sherman, right, and during Reconstruction, like they were supposed to do that and they haven't done that. So in my opinion, black people, we got to lead it. Now I think we can have white allies, right, and because they're the majority, and let's be real, white people are the dominant ethnicity group here, so they're going to have to give the okay. Let's just keep it a buck, let's just keep it real, and that's just facts. We can't argue with that. We can't go around it. We just have to just call it what it is. So do you think it's more so like we just need necessarily white allies? We're just trying to understand, why would you say we need white people to lead it, because they haven't done that in the past?
White allies, white leadership, it's all the same.
Okay.
Like, for instance, with the task force that's coming to Detroit, I mean, would you want to see a diverse task force of mixed ethnicities, or what would your task force in Detroit look like?
I would love to see it be 100% white. That's what I would love to see. 100%, no blacks. We don't have time for it. It's a lost cause for us to fight for that. To keep, it's basically a reliving of trauma for us, because it's just a constant denial. It's not for us to fight. It's for them to fight amongst each other with, and admit to it, get it, and they can get it done. They can get it done. It's been 150 years we haven't got it done.
Okay. Well, I think the difference between, especially when you're talking about the past 2 years, and comparatively speaking to, shout out to Cali House, and when we go way back in the history, and even when we talk about HR 40, right? I think there were some movements, and shout out to Conyers for putting it on, and Cobra for putting it in work. We got to give shout out to our ancestors who put it on there. You know what I'm saying? But I think one of the problems is, I don't think, as you mentioned, right, Brother Tobias, you mentioned that data, and the data may have been there, but I don't think that was the full intention on pushing it like we're pushing it right now. And I think that's kind of the bigger difference. Now, some people would try to argue, right, when we talk about George Floyd and some other incidences, unfortunate incidences that happened, 2020 and prior to that. But what people don't realize is that AB 3121 was passed before, shout out to, our brother George Floyd, was passed before, George Floyd unfortunately lost his life. Right. And so, and if it wasn't for, initially you had, Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, if it wasn't for her and her staff, a black woman pushing it through Congress, right? And a white man, the governor, Gavin Newsom, he signed it up. He signed off on it, right? So it was a white person who did sign off on it, right?
Always has to be. Always has to be.
Let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? Let's just keep it real. But that's why, I feel like black people should be at least keep pushing it. You know what I mean? No, even if white people have to sign off on it.
No question. No question. All of the work of so many people can't be dismissed. I'm not saying that. Let me bring it back. I'm not saying we don't do anything. I'm saying we can help guide it. You know what I mean? We can play our position behind the scenes, but this is no longer our fight. You understand what I'm saying? The trauma, the internal frustrations, and I mean this type of work. I worked in the Senate in Michigan, and I've done political work. I've been on the front lines, so many different movements and grassroots organizations. And this type of work, man, is not for the faint of heart, but I've seen people get sick and die from doing this type of work. Like it has a certain type of frequency, you know what I mean, that you exist in when you are doing this kind of work all the time and being frustrated, angry, and carrying that energy, man. It's not good. It's time for us to release that side of it and let them work that out and guide that from the backfield. We don't need to be in the forefront of it anymore, because I mean, you think about it, like one of the best series to me ever produced was Colin in Black and White. Have you all seen that?
Yeah, that was fire, bro. That was fire.
Who do you think needs to see that more, black people or white people in America?
I'll let Kim go first.
Well, I haven't seen it, but it is on my binge watching list for, the upcoming holiday downtime. So I don't know who needs to see it more. But when we're talking about white people leading our reparations fight, well, we have a comment from the audience here that says, our reparations fight is part of the healing process. So that's one thing there. No,
it's not.
Don't
Absolutely
agree?
not. It's absolutely the opposite. How is it part of the healing process? How is a fight part of a healing process? That doesn't even make sense.
I mean, being able to put our input in and tell our stories. Matter of fact, we have one.
Over 150 years now.
Okay, all right, but we are making steady progress. And how are you going to trust white people? Even in your documentary movie, you said that white politicians have promised to sit down with you over and over again. What politicians? Were they black politicians or white politicians that were reneged?
Actually, they were black. They were black. That's what I'm saying. They were black.
Detractors, some black detractors, and that's right. True.
Those same people that I've been white would have sat down with me. Guaranteed.
Well, did you reach out to the white politicians with your cause?
We reached out to white politicians, but these politicians the ones we needed to speak with were black, because they were from Mississippi, from the area that we filmed at. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You see what I mean? Yeah. It's just having white people. It's the same reason why certain black-owned corporations hire white VPs, hire white CEOs. You know what I'm saying? This is
a lot of that is just so they can have a front person that looks the part.
That's what I'm. You understand what I'm saying? You understand me now or no?
I mean, I hear you, but as far as the all-white task force, I don't know if I can co-sign on that. I can't subscribe to that. But as far as white politicians, because those are the people that are in power, yeah. But as far as the people who are coming up with the proposals, we're the ones that are going through the pain. So we're the ones that need to come up with these proposals that are going to heal us. They don't know. They're up in their ivory towers. They don't know what we need.
All right. So
I'm not saying they operate independent of us, though. You understand? Right. That's not what I'm saying. They don't operate independent of us. It's not what I'm saying.
So then we go back to a mixed ethnic task force in Detroit. We have, input from both sides, not just an all white task force. Could you compromise on that?
We've done it. We've done all of the research. It's already there. What more do we need to do?
I felt that way about the reparations task force out here in California. But as we got into the process and people are telling their stories, I'm hearing stories that I wasn't aware of. So I do think it's a good process in being able to get all of this information in one, place. I think that our situation is so nuanced and unique that we do need to just have this task force just to get all the information in one place. We know we've all heard it, but to all have it, to get it legitimized, I think that's important as far as these task force go. Now, I do hear with other ethnic groups, it's like, this group got tangibles and protections. They didn't need no task force. But maybe our situation is so nuanced and unique that.
You think our situation is more nuanced than the Asian Americans?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really? You think our situation is harder to figure out than the Asian Americans who receive reparations?
I just think there's so much involved in our situation that
I think that the Asian Americans are united. They are 100% united. They don't vote. So why are they so respected in the political process? Because they're united. That's it.
So you feel like if Black people, and when I'm talking about Black people, I'm particularly talking about Black Americans, the ones whose descendants, have come from U.S. chattel slavery. You think if Black Americans were more united, you think this reparations push, at least currently, would go through the process a little bit faster than it is now?
Undoubtedly. It's been proven all throughout history. Every time we united for any reason, we create change.
So do you think that, well, first of all, and I just have to ask this question, do you think Black people deserve reparations? Just want to ask that.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. It's not debatable. There's no way to say we don't. We're talking about, let's just leave slavery out of it, right? If we just take slavery completely away, you talk about unequal housing practices, denial of home loans, denial of business loans, police brutality, you know what I'm saying? Places that were burned down, communities that were burned down, Tulsa, Oklahoma, West Palm Beach, Florida, Chicago, Mississippi, California, Texas, everywhere. There's stories of these type of things that happen in Tulsa all over the country. So reparations are due beyond just slavery. Slavery is just one huge element, of course, that because the entire country was built on slavery. The first thing that was insured in this country were slaves. So slavery, yes, that's definitely one reason for reparations. But then you got a whole laundry list of other reasons. You know what I'm saying? Black wealth. Everybody talks about how home ownership is a pathway to wealth. And we had our homes taken from us. We denied home loans. We're denied business loans. Reparations are 100% due. That's not even a debate. Nobody can debate that.
Well, if we look at Field Order 15 and the actual, the debt, the 40 acres and the mule, which is actually a debt, how can America, sit here and call itself a capitalistic, entity, society, whatever, if it hasn't paid this debt, it has this long, outstanding, overdue debt. How can, they even pretend to be this capitalistic entity?
Right. And like it was one story that you read that was talking about how they wanted to have at least a third of their business become African American.
Oh yeah. The financial institution.
Yeah, the reason why is because they realized that how much racism has costed them. Now, that's the reason why. They realize how expensive racism is in denying Black people business loans, because we are unbelievable business people. We're the most creative people who ever existed, right? So the things we create and sell, everybody wants to purchase the things we create. You know what I mean? Everybody. So why would you deny us business loans? It was just pure racist practices, right? So they understand.
It's cost, yeah.
They understand the cost.
Racism is cost,
They understand the
exactly.
cost of racism. So that's that's what that's about.
And I have a little bit more bad news for you. Another story didn't make it into our roundup, but apparently China has overtaken America, as the richest country. So we're no longer the powerhouse that we once were, because of, racism, systemic racism.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Well, we agree on that.
We agree on it all. We agree on it all.
Yeah, we good. Hey, brother.
I'm talking tactics. That's all.
Yeah, and brother Tobias, man, we appreciate everybody's, perspective on this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all good, man. We're all trying to get to where we need to get to, in progress. So, brother, we just appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Coming through with every wisdom that you have. And you've been through that fire, if you've ever, and not just you, Tobias, I'm just talking about in general. If anybody's ever like even remotely tried to look at a bill, it's very confusing and could be mind numbing. You literally have to go through it like 5 or 6 times. And you're right, man. It's a lot of weight when you're trying to pursue like this type of work and advocacy, and that's why I give you a lot of credit, brother. And I appreciate you reaching back, out to us for being on here. And that's why I wanted to ask you that question, especially with, Cotton Pickin Truth, because it's heavy,
It is heavy.
It's heavy on us. And I don't think that's what people don't understand. People like Kim and I will we'll be out on the streets, actually talking to people, right? And we ask them, hey, do you know about the task force? Do you know about, reparations? Do you know about, and brother, and we talk to majority of Black people, like a little white people know about it, but all Americans need to know about like the travesty of what happened, because this is without slavery or enslaved people, our ancestors, there wouldn't be in America, period. Right? We built this country straight up. But people don't realize like the heavy weight. But when you talk about like stuff like your film, Cotton Pickin Truth, and when you start talking about mass incarceration, police brutality, it does weigh heavy. And so that's why I ask you, brother, like what kept you going, and I guess in a way what still keeps you going, and because I know you talked about your music and so forth, but would you ever venture into anything else outside of Cotton Pickin Truth in terms of doing anything in your filmmaking creatively?
Yeah, well, I'm being asked to do a film right now, documentary film that is also going to be powerful. It's rooted in Black healing, and I don't want to talk about it too much until it's 100% solidified. But yeah, so I'm rooted. I'm being asked to do a film about the healing of Black trauma, and it's going to be done in a way that I think is not only scientific and something that can be replicated all over the country in neighborhoods all over the country, but is super dynamic and powerful. And I think everybody needs to see and witness how this healing is taking place.
All right, dope, man.
Yeah, keep us posted on that. So we are at the hour. Don't want to keep you all night, but I do have another question for you. Do you think that Black people are waking up politically, and in any other ways?
I think there's definitely a huge awakening that's taking place right now. I think it's a shift that's happening. I think the people of a certain energy space are coming together, and I think that there is a lot of awakening that's taking place on the spiritual front, and that's leading to like a mental reshaping. definitely right now.
All right.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to wrap it up. It's been a great discussion. Kim, is there anything else that we need to take care of before we get out of here?
No, I think that's it. So what we will leave you with is also what Yamoy and I have been producing as a presentation that we'd like to play at the next task force meeting, which I told you earlier at the top of the show is happening on the 7th and 8th of December. Hope you'll tune in for that. They are public meetings, so hopefully you'll tune in so you can maybe take some ideas back to your task force there in Detroit. So our presentation is on the discriminatory nature and practices in the entertainment field. I'm sure you've run into some of that yourself, Tobias. So tune in to the task force meeting on the 7th and 8th. Hopefully, if we get approved, you'll see our presentation for Blacklisted. And with that, good night, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.